Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig. Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to be talking about Beverley Hills Cop Axel F. from this interesting perspective where one of us has seen the Beverly Hills Cop movies, at least some of them, and the other one has not. And we're going to be discussing this movie and seeing where nostalgia plays in and where it doesn't.
Yes. To add some context, though, I have seen Eddie Murphy films. I've also seen films featuring Judge Reinhold.
Yes, Will has seen Shrek and Gremlins.
And Gremlins, yes.
But we're going to be talking about that. We also have a news story and a few trailers to go over in our news segment On Beat. And also where we're going to start this podcast with our On the Horizon segment. On the horizon. On the horizon. On the Horizon is where we talk about what's coming up in the next week or so. And we're going to be starting things off with Monday, August 26th. And that is when World of Warcraft, The War Within comes out on PC. It's been like a while since there's been a World of Warcraft expansion, hasn't it? I was kind of surprised it's still kind of around. I thought it was just one of those things where it was around, but it's almost like Blizzard forgot to turn the keys off, you know?
No, it's still one of the most popular games. It's the most popular MMO still.
You just don't hear anything about it anymore.
Right.
It's interesting.
It is interesting, yeah.
New expansion, Monday, August 26th on PC. Adam Sandler, Love You, which is a comedy special, is coming on Tuesday, August 27th to Netflix. So yeah, a new Adam Sandler comedy special.
Okay.
Hopefully he doesn't go all like anti-trans or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect that from Adam Sandler, but you never know.
I did see a picture of Rob Schneider at a press thing for it, so I don't know. Next up, we have Kaos. That's Kaos. That is the new series that has Jeff Goldblum playing Zeus. And it's like a modern day, but like the gods of Olympus.
I thought Jeff Goldblum. I thought it was about the Chaos Theory.
No. It's about Zeus and the Greek gods. And that is coming on Thursday, August 29th to Netflix. Also coming on Thursday, August 29th, also to Netflix, is Terminator Zero. That's the Terminator anime series.
Hopefully good.
Yes, hopefully good. I think it's a production IG, if I'm not mistaken, so.
Yeah.
Good pedigree. Hopefully it's good. Also on Thursday, August 29th, this is a Thursday ton for you. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Season 2 on Amazon Prime. Again, hopefully it's good. I'm sure, regardless of if it's good or bad, there's going to just be a whole stream of hate online about it.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
Yet another thing coming out on Thursday, August 29th, Gundam Breaker 4, coming to PC, PS4, PS5, and Switch. So that's the one I mentioned before. It's kind of interesting because you use Gundams, you beat up other Gundams, you knock parts off of those other Gundams, and then you can rebuild your Gundams using different parts. And that's like the loop.
Steal people's parts, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of based on the model kits, and people would do that with the model kits in Japan. They'd buy these like super detailed Gundam model kits, and even though the model kits were like for a singular thing, just like with like Legos, if you buy like a Lego Millennial Falcon and a Lego like Harry Potter set, you could mix and match them. They use the same connections, you know?
Oh, interesting, yeah.
So people would do that with the Gundam figures. They'd mix and match them and create kind of their own Gundams. And so that's kind of what this game is it's like, it lets you take the parts and rebuild and, you know, build your own Gundams, basically. But that's coming Thursday, August 29th to PC, PS4, PS5, and Switch. Also coming out on Thursday, August 29th to the Switch is Emio, the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club, which I believe has a demo out now or something.
Yes, it does. I believe it's like now it's like you can play like the first chapter.
Mm-hmm. I heard something about like the first couple chapters or something like that. I don't know like if those are out now or if they're going to be let you play them for free once the game. Like I don't know.
I honestly honestly don't know all the details. So,
but there's some kind of a demo thing involved that you can play in some way at some time. Shadow of the Ninja Reborn is coming to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X, and Switch also on Thursday, August 29th. Vision of Mana is also coming out on Thursday, August 29th on PC, PS4, PS5, and Xbox Series X. No Switch for that one. No. Like I told you, Thursday ton, right?
Oh yeah, Thursday ton. Visions of Mana looks fantastic too. That is 100% a Switch 2 game, by the way. That is definitely.
I mean, there were rumors about it, I think, before the game was even announced.
Oh yeah. I don't even need rumors. I just think
No, I mean, there was rumors it was coming to Switch 2 before the game was announced.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's funny.
So it was already kind of just going to happen, eventually. Star Wars Outlaws is coming on Friday, August 30th to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. Slingshot. This is a new movie starring Casey Affleck and Lawrence Fishburne. It's about a space trip. They're on a space station and they need a slingshot, I think, around the moon to get out, and it's like they might end up getting launched into space and dying, or I don't know. But it's a sci-fi movie with Casey Affleck and Lawrence Fishburne. That's coming on Friday, August 30th to theaters. And Afraid, with the AI at the end, it capitalized to reference artificial intelligence.
Naturally.
Is also coming to theaters on Friday, August 30th. That's a new AI horror movie. It's basically like Alexa takes over the family. That's basically the concept, I think. I think John Cho's in it.
Yeah.
That's coming Friday, August 30th to theaters. And that is it for our On the Horizon segment. And now we're moving on to On Beat. On Beat is our news segment. We got one news story and a few trailers to go over, and let's start with that news story, and that is that One Piece has cast Katie Seagal as Dr. Kuruha and Mark Herlick as Dr. Hiralik, which is crazy name casting.
Yes. Yeah, they have almost the exact same name.
Yeah, crazy. Makes you think that they just did it for that reason,
Right. I doubt they would, but yeah, it is funny.
Katie Seagal's role as Dr. Kureha, or Kureha. Okay, Dr. Kureha.
I'm just putting you in charge of saying that for this entire podcast.
Is that's the role that originally people were talking about Jamie Lee Curtis going to be in.
Yes.
She had expressed interest herself in doing it, but wasn't able to because of schedule.
Right, scheduling. They got Katie Seagal, which was surprising, but welcome, because I love Katie Seagal. Mm-hmm. I think she's going to be fantastic in this.
I think she might honestly be a better pick.
Yeah.
Knowing the character and knowing One Piece, I think she might actually be a better pick for the role than Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis is a cool fan casting, but I think Katie Seagal is one of those ones that wasn't fan cast because people just thought about Jamie Lee Curtis and just only focused on that. Right. But the second you name her, it's oh yeah, why didn't we think of her? So that ends up actually being a really good casting for that.
I don't know anything about the other guy, but cool. Interesting though, Oda, released a statement about season 2 of the next season of One Piece live action, giving us, what we can expect is going to be covered.
For those not know, Oda, that Will is referring to, is the mangaka of One Piece, the original creator of the series.
The original author. Yes. Yes, he put out a blog post or whatever, message talking about season 2 and what we can expect. And he says, quote, "Yes, the live-action One Piece is currently in production with filming well underway. The story will cover Logue Town, Reverse Mountain, Twin Cape, Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, and Drum Island."
Yeah, that's basically everything except the next big arc.
Yes, so no Alabasta for season 2.
Alabasta is the first massive arc in One Piece. And you're gonna see hints of it in these other arcs. You're gonna see characters that play into that arc are gonna start showing up throughout these other arcs. I'm not predicting that they're making that change. That's how it happened in the manga and the anime. It will probably be even more so here. We even saw a hint of the Arabasta arc in season 1 with the scene that introduced Zorro. The guy that he ended up killing in that scene was a member of Brokeworks, which is kind of the villain group in the Arabasta arc. So, yeah.
Also, like,
basically it's all the setup for the Arabasta arc so that they can do that for the season 3, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. Also, he said to expect more cast announcements. They announced the first ones we just mentioned on the podcast today, but there's going to be more cast announcements tomorrow and Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So because he mentions 3 days, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
I think what everyone's waiting for isn't even the casting. I mean,
it's
there's
like
one
Chopper.
casting I think people might be looking out for, and I'm not even sure if they'd put her in season 2 or not, and that's Nico Robin.
Right.
People are going to be excited for that casting, whatever it is, but what everybody wants is to see what Chopper is going to look like.
Yeah,
and we're not going to
exactly.
see that until they start doing the effects and stuff, so that's going to be a ways down the line.
Right.
That's what everyone's waiting for.
We might learn like Chopper's voice actor before we even see Chopper.
Yeah, but nobody's like going to be all crazy hyped for that. They want to see what Chopper looks like, you know?
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so that is our news story, and now we have some trailers to go over. First up, we have Y2K, which is like kind of a comedy horror movie about the Y2K issue with the whole online bug that everybody was terrified of in 1999 at the end. That like, oh, civilization's gonna end, and everyone was all freaked out, and nothing happened.
Right. The actual fear was that all the technology we had would just stop working. Right?
Basically, to explain the Y2K bug to people who don't know, the dates in computer systems used to be a 2-digit code for the year. And so the idea was that when it turned over to the year 2000, the computers would think it was suddenly 1900 again. Because it would be starting over because it didn't use a 4-digit date. They were able to fix that in most computers before then. I think the bigger issue that people were really worried about was like, I mean, the people that weren't panicking, that were just worried about like genuine concerns. It was more like banks and like how that might affect things like interest and different stuff like that, you know?
Right,
and fuck up those calculations.
It's mostly like stuff that relied on the computer having an accurate date. It wasn't like your computer at home was gonna blow up on you or anything.
Yeah, but it created this huge panic. And there was like all this, like, you know, people made all these shows about him, or Family Guy did an episode where it was basically like the end of the world and it became all post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, and it's funny because like, that was like right after Family Guy had just come out. So, because I think Family Guy came out in like 98, or might have even premiered in 99 actually. Like just
it was
time to
it
do
was
a
basically
just in time to do a Y2K episode. Yeah.
We always have to have a panic, right? In the 80s, it was the satanic panic. In the 90s, it was the Y2K bug panic. I'm not sure what I'd say the 2000s was, but, you know, probably Islamophobia. And then now it was transphobia.
It was like the war on terror, like the panic over like terrorism in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now in the 2020s, it's transphobia, you know? Trans panic.
Right. Yeah.
There's always some kind of a big panic everyone's freaking out over that's like a big nothing issue. Big nothing burger. So this movie, this Y2K movie, is kind of like a comedic horror take on that. Like it's all these kids, they're at a party.
It reminds me of like Maximum Overdrive. Remember that movie? Like where like all the cars and like the machines like become sentient and like tried killing everybody.
Yeah, that was based on a Stephen King story, and Stephen King directed that movie, I think. That's the only movie he's directed.
Yeah, it's the only, exactly.
Emilio Estevez, right?
Yeah, Emilio Estevez.
And they had the truck with the Green Goblin, like, hood thing.
Yeah, that was like the main villain of the movie, because it was like the living truck with the Green Goblin face on the front of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is what this reminds
me of a comedy version of that.
What it reminds me of a little bit is This Is the End.
Yes.
Which is that movie that is it Seth Rogen and all of his people. But yeah, that's what it reminds me of, I think, a lot. And, but it's very much just that kind of like, you know, everyone's going to this high school party and they're all excited. And then like the world comes to an end because of Y2K. And then like machines become like sentient and start attacking people. And it's the apocalypse. And it's just basically about how like ridiculous the panic is.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Looks like it could be pretty fun.
Yeah, it looks like a fun movie. No, I like Kyle Mooney. Did you see, like, the thing he did for Netflix?
Yeah.
Riffing on Saturday Morning? That was a gem. That was really good.
It's very Adult Swim.
Yeah, it's very Adult Swim. It didn't continue past the initial order because, yeah, it was an Adult Swim show on Netflix and nobody besides, like, me or you watched it. So, but yeah, like, that gives you, like, a sense of, like, his sense of humor.
Yeah, so, he's a writer and actor on Saturday Night Live, or at least he was. I don't know if he still is.
Yeah, I'm not sure, like, yeah, but yeah, he did come from Saturday Night Live, so.
Mm-hmm. But then our next trailer, speaking of just kind of like weird comedies, off-putting, Frankie Frico, which I heard a description on the YouTube video for the trailer that is apt. Because it reminded me of it too. Somebody said that this reminded them of the Garbage Pail Kids movie.
Yes. This reminds me of a lot of things. It's reminiscent of like the Charles Band films, like Full Moon Pictures, if you're familiar with like the stuff like Puppet Master and like all those like movies that they used to do.
What was that Roger Rabbit ripoff movie that had like Brad Pitt in it? It was Cool World, I think.
Cool World, yeah. But that's
kind of has a little bit of a Cool World vibe to it too, with like a regular guy getting like sucked into this other world.
Yeah. I just thought like this,
even like a little bit of a Super Mario Brothers movie, like the old one.
Yeah, like the old one. Yeah, I heard a description of this like Gremlins meets Garbage Pail Kids meets Little Monsters.
I love Little Monsters.
Yeah.
I used to love that movie so much. Oh, God. I had this obsession with, like, monsters when I was a kid. Like, I wanted to be a monster. Not like I was obsessed with just watching them. Like, I just wished that I could, like, magically turn into a monster.
Right, and live in, like, the monster world or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that was, like, that was daydream fantasy for me, watching, like, Little Monsters, man.
Nice. I mean, I watched this trailer. I, like, fell in love with the concept. I think this looks like so much fun.
It looks so schlocky, but, like, in that, like, way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
in that way.
In that way, that's fantastic.
Like, it looks like this could be, like, co-created by Alex Winter or something,
Yes. and one of the things, like, I loved, and, like, I think, like, only people of, like, our generation could probably appreciate it, but, like, this looks like it's set in the 80s, because, like, one of the big plot points that starts the action is Frankie Frico is like one of those like party line numbers. And you remember like growing up in the 80s and like seeing commercials like all these party lines constantly. Like, like I just like love like that. That's like they're riffing on that.
I just remember all those different like, not area codes, but like prefixes for the numbers, like 800's toll free and 900 is, by the minute. And then they also have like, 977 is like the erotic ones. And it's like they always had all those commercials for all that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's hilarious to me, like when I think about it, I realize, cause like there's all kinds of like 80s nostalgia or whatever, like all the time. And like
Stranger Things, man,
Stranger Things, but none of it has ever referenced these party lines.
Yeah.
They were like ubiquitous during the time.
They were all over the place.
Yeah. It's like,
there's so many like weird things that we've just gotten used to that we don't like address anymore because they just were like handled, like,
right.
Do you remember your parents freaking out about making like a long distance phone call?
Yeah. Oh, I remember
like
that.
Now like long distance phone calls don't really exist anymore.
No, yeah, it's not like really a thing.
Yeah. But that was such a big thing. It's like your friend moved out of state and you wanted to call him and your parents are like, oh no, you can't call him, or if you call you can only be on the line for like 10 minutes.
That's extra. That's a lot extra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the internet was like that too. I remember I got in deep shit because I had Prodigy and my dad was paying for Prodigy and I was using his Prodigy account and they had just opened up, it used to be just the bulletin boards and stuff, but then they opened up access to like the internet and I was just on there using Prodigy and I didn't know that the internet was like a plus feature of Prodigy.
Oh no.
So I charged up this like huge bill because they charge you by the minute when you're using plus features.
Oh, that's evil.
Yeah. So I was on the internet, through Prodigy and that was all plus hours. And I got in big trouble for that.
Oh, jeez.
It's one of those things that, like, nobody talks about that anymore, that kind of stuff, because it's just so, that stuff is free now. That's just, you just get that, Like, you pay for the internet and then you just get that.
Yeah.
And the idea of it being like a by the minute thing or with that or with phone calls or things is kind of like weird.
Oh yeah, it's so weird. This movie is, Frankie, this is from the director of, creator of Psycho Gorman. Did you see that movie?
I did not.
Again, it's whacked out. It's like a Power Rangers parody, like meets like a horror film. Because like, it's like this great evil space alien lands on Earth then becomes like a slave to like this 10-year-old girl, and she goes around like
I've seen a trailer for that.
Yeah. Then there's like these space warriors, like they come down and they're hunting them.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for that. I haven't seen the movie, but yeah, that sounds familiar. I was thinking of there was another one. There was this like Power Rangers-esque like indie film, like a weird indie art house film that was like Power Rangers-esque that came out like, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And I remember like we reacted to a trailer for it. And it was like really weird because it was like really low budget, but like it would have this really kind of cool like indie film look, and then it would cut into this like really cheesy looking Power Rangers stuff, but it was like, oh, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So I think this looks cool. I mean, I think like this is right up my alley, and so I'm looking forward to it.
That's Frankie Frico. Next up, we got a trailer for Secret Level. So before we even mention this, have you seen Love, Death, and Robots?
Nope, but I mean, it's on the list. I need to watch it.
Do you know anything about it?
I know it was like an anthology series of stories about like robots.
It was just kind of like high concept sci-fi that was done through really, really high quality CG animation. And a lot of it was like this whole project was created by Tim Miller, who was like, I think he directed the first Deadpool movie, and he's been involved in like a lot of special effects projects and stuff like that. And he did this thing, Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix. And he basically got all of these like animation studios, these like top end VFX studios around the world to like kind of create short films, like short sci-fi stories that were like pushing the bounds of like, you know, what you could do, not just with like adult animation or something, but also just in the sense of like the actual like techniques of animation, like the actual quality of it and stuff. And like there's some really like good stuff in there, like some shockingly good stuff, you know, and like doing some really interesting things like VFX and computer animation wise. Well, this is from the same team basically. So it's Tim Miller again handling Secret Level. And this is basically Love, Death, and Robots, but it's on Amazon. And instead of just being kind of general sci-fi stories that they create their own anthology for, they're all based on existing video games. So, yes. You know, like there's a big variety of them. Not many of them are too big. I think the biggest one's probably Pac-Man.
Geez. There's some slander there. I mean, there's some big things here. There's like Dungeons and Dragons. Like, everybody knows what Dungeons and Dragons is. But yeah, like there's some more niche stuff, like Armored Core gets an episode, Spelunky is getting an episode. I don't think like
Sifu, which is pretty recent like indie game.
A lot of these are like recent games that just came out, like Concord. That's a new game that just came out. Crossfire, I don't know what that is. Exodus, Honor of Kings, don't know what that is. New World, Eternum, that is like an MMO, like that published by like Amazon Studios. Mm-hmm. So that's like a game Amazon made. I know what the Outer Worlds is.
Yeah.
I know what that is. Unreal Tournament and Warhammer 40K, and then we got the ones I'm excited for, Pac-Man and Mega Man.
Yeah.
Oh, and they have an episode, PlayStation, which is like assorted PlayStation Studios properties, and you saw like Kratos in there for like a few seconds.
Yeah. What's really interesting on this one is that this is going to be like a testing ground for what is adaptable.
Right, yeah.
Especially if this gets multiple seasons. This is going to, like, seriously, like, Amazon has this show, but other networks are going to be paying attention to. Game studios are going to be paying attention. And they're going to say, oh, hey, you know, if it's successful, they're going to go, hey, why don't you do one for our game? Yeah. And if it gets some success, then people are going to go, hey, that was a good short. Like, that would actually make a good show or a good movie or something. This is like an amazing testing ground for like what is adaptable from like the video game space. That's what's really crazy about this to me more than anything else.
Oh yeah. That's it's crazy to me that like, it's an anthology series, but each series is going to be based off like a different video game IP, and they're all from like different companies too. Mm-hmm. That's kind of crazy from just like
season 3 is going to be Super Smash Brothers.
Yes, from an IP licensing perspective, which is crazy because like it can't have been easy or cheap to like license all these things together.
Like I said, I think a lot of these companies were probably eager to license it out because of the critical success and attention that Love, Death, and Robots got. They're going to look at this as like, is this going to show that our property has adaptation value? And if it does, then it's going to raise the value of their own properties. So I bet you they got away with murder as far as the actual rates that they're paying companies to license this. They probably even got free license on a bunch of them. Just because, why wouldn't Namco want to know if Pac-Man works as a series? Because if it does, then Namco can get money by licensing Pac-Man as a series.
Right. They did do a Pac-Man series in the 70s.
You know what I mean? A new one, you know?
Yeah, they did a new one in the 2010s, Pac-Man Ghostly Adventures.
I think the only one that probably paid is, they probably paid Capcom for Mega Man, because Capcom doesn't give a shit about Mega Man and never will want to ever adapt anything. It could be the most successful short film from the entire thing. It could be the world record as the most watched short film of all time from anything, from any adaptation or anything ever. It could like go to like international success, and then somebody can go to Capcom and say, hey, we want to license Mega Man to make a new movie about it, a new movie franchise. And Capcom will go, no, fuck Mega Man.
Fuck Mega Man. Yeah.
It looks great, though. I'm excited about it. Love, Death, and Robot was really interesting. They did some interesting stuff with that. You know, they even did, like, Netflix did some interesting stuff where they made, like, a random order. So, like, depending on, you know, where you were or when you started watching the show, the episodes would be in different orders. Because it didn't really matter what order the episodes are in, because it's an anthology series.
It'd be cool, like, if they did this, if they did manage to get Nintendo on board for this, for, like,
it'd be a harder one to get there, just because Nintendo knows how to license
They did,
stuff.
but like I would.
It'd be cool if they did something more obscure from Nintendo.
For like Metroid. I want to see Metroid. Yeah,
Metroid would be cool, or like anything that's like smaller from them. You know, Xenoblade would be cool. Fire Emblem would be cool. Imagine like a Fire Emblem, like a total like fantasy CG like short film.
Tyson, they're not going to do Clue Land. Quit asking for Clue
Balloon
Land.
Fight, man. Balloon Fight or bust.
Balloon Fight,
literally.
Bust. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, yeah.
I just want them to do Mario Kart, but not the entirety of Mario Kart, just the battle mode.
Just the battle mode, yeah, exactly.
Do it like Death Race 3000 at Mario Kart. But yeah, that's Secret Level. And then we got a trailer for Megalopolis, which you informed me the trailer's being pulled because it's inaccurate.
Right, yeah. There's like some crazy thing where like they misattributed or made up quotes from critics to make out like that nobody loved Francis Ford Coppola's previous movies, which is insane.
Yeah, one of the most renowned auteurs of the industry.
Right. They purposely, okay, this is the controversy. They made up critics' quotes to purposefully cast films like The Godfather as movies that were panned when they came out, but then became critical and cult darlings in hindsight, which is insane because that is absolutely not the case.
Yeah.
Just to like paint this image of Francis Ford Coppola as like this misunderstood auteur. Who,
I really wish they just advertised this movie straight, because I already thought it looked really good.
Yeah. It was like this, this damage control where like they are not, it just shows a lack of confidence, cause like the angle they're going for is like, oh, this is getting critically panned or will be critically panned, but you'll see in the future it's gonna be like one of the most loved movies. It's like, wow, okay, you really do not have confidence in your film.
Yeah, it's it's upsetting. It's also upsetting. I don't like it when like a director, and you know Francis Ford Coppola has to okay this trailer before it goes out.
Right.
When a director like makes a trailer that refers to himself as a visionary.
Oh yeah. It's
just
so
like weird ego garbage.
Yeah, it's so navel gazing.
Yeah.
It's so like, oh yeah, like it's beyond sniffing your own farts. It's like wearing your own farts as cologne.
What's really sad about it all is if you take all that garbage, that like fake quotes out, you take out the narration calling him a genius, you take all of that stuff out and just leave the actual trailer intact, and it looks great.
Yeah. It looks creative. It looks inventive. Looks like it has like something to say about society. You know, like Adam Driver. You know, it's got a great cast. You know, it looks like
got a few people I don't like in it, but a lot of people I really, really do like.
Yeah, like I don't know. It looks like a solid film. I don't know why you have to like go to like these extremes to like try and justify the film's existence. It's weird.
Yeah, definitely. But that's Megaopolis. Now we're gonna move on to our final segment, full spoilers. This week on Full Spoilers, we are going to be talking about Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Now, before we get started on this, we were trying to figure out what we were going to talk about this week, last week. We're like, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to do for the show? And we were scouring through like, what's recent? We didn't want to like get hung up on a series because we have something big coming up in 2 weeks that has to do with that. And we didn't want to watch like a whole series. We just wanted like a movie or something. Like, what's available? What can we watch and do? And we ended up deciding on Axel F because we had talked about it already about possibly doing this eventually. And it was like, okay, yeah. And we thought, oh, it's an interesting perspective because you haven't seen, the Beverly Hills Cop movies. I have. So it gives us kind of like a disparity there, and it can give us an interesting perspective. Immediately after we decided this and recorded it on our podcast announcing that that's what we're going to do, like pretty much the next day, Furiosa got shadow dropped on.
Yeah. And mind you, we were combing through lists of like what's available on every streaming service and the date they were going to be available. Yeah. And Furiosa was not, and I looked at several different lists on
and I straight up looked at Furiosa too to see when it was coming out.
Yeah, and it was not listed as being available before tonight's podcast.
Yeah.
So we were blindsided by that.
So Furiosa's, we'll get to it. It'll be a little bit down the line. It's not going to be this week. It's not going to be next week. Maybe the week after. Who knows? We'll figure something out. But we'll get to Furiosa eventually. But today we're going to talk about our silver medal winner.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. The continuation after 20 years, I believe, since the last one came out. Is it 20 years? No, it's 30 years since the last one came out.
Well, the last one came out in the 90s, right?
Yeah, the last one came out in 94. So it's been 30 years.
That's
since
crazy.
The last Beverly Hills Cop movie came out. I'm not sure I've even seen that one. That one doesn't ring any bells for me. The other two do, definitely. I remember the other ones, but I do not remember that one. But yeah, Beverly Hills Cop, absolute classic, put Eddie Murphy on the map as an actor rather than just as a comedian. That was kind of the one that really broke him out. He had like 48 hours and then Beverly Hills Cop is what really blew him up and made him like just a massive movie star.
Right, yeah.
And it's a great kind of cop movie comedy. You haven't seen any of this.
No.
When I watched this initially, when I watched Axel F, I was like, okay, they got almost everything just right. Like they matched it up. They're using like the same soundtrack. They're kind of hitting the same kind of beats. They're bringing back like all the like weird, obscure characters that we love so much. They're bringing in new characters that kind of really fit in. Like Joseph Gordon-Levitt really kind of fits with that kind of dynamic, in the same way that like Eddie Murphy did in the original.
Like Kevin Bacon as the villain.
Perfect, like 80s choice,
Right, yeah.
Very fitting.
Very fitting, yeah.
Works. You, as somebody who has not seen a Beverly Hills Cop movie, what did you think of Axel F?
I thought it was good. I thought it was very entertaining. I mean, it doesn't, like, I like Eddie Murphy in general. Like, I've seen his movies, like, a lot of his movies, especially his stuff in the 90s or early 2000s, like, got, like, really goofy, like, Norbit. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Norbit, actually.
Yeah, I kind of stopped watching.
I mean, I watched, like, I watched, like, The Nutty Professor. I think that was probably, like, the last Eddie Murphy movie I've seen.
After The Nutty Professor, he did, like, 2 sequels to that, like, about the family, where he played, like, every character. And then that just kind of became a running gag that, like, every year Eddie Murphy put out another movie where he played every character.
Yeah, where he played, like, multiple characters.
They even parodied it with, like, Jack Black in Tropic Thunder.
Yes,
his actor was basically Eddie Murphy doing that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was hilarious. I think that's the last one. But, like, I mean, I've seen, like, a lot of Eddie Murphy movies, so I'm familiar. And this, like, really felt like Eddie Murphy back in classic style. Like,
yeah,
really,
this is Eddie
really
Murphy, like,
to,
full charisma.
Yeah, going back to, like, the style, like, a comedy he was doing in the 80s, going back to his roots, really.
The only thing it's missing is his signature laugh, which apparently he doesn't do anymore. He's like, I think he was embarrassed by it or something and stopped doing it.
Oh, interesting. That's a shame. But yeah, he doesn't do that here. But man, I don't know. I think he's fantastic in this.
Yeah, it's like a really fun, and it's very 80s feeling. Like the movie, like hits those beats.
Yes, even though like it's set in the modern day,
even like the ending when they like storm the mansion and stuff. Like even the villains that are like guarding with machine guns inside the mansion, they look straight out of like an 80s film, like henchmen from an 80s film.
Right. Oh yeah.
It's like it's just they like nailed it, like tonally wise, and I think the biggest thing that they got, which is the most important thing for Beverly Hills Cop, Cop is that they got Axel Foley, like, perfect.
Yes.
They got him, he's charismatic, he's adorable, and he just talks himself into whatever situation he needs to get himself into.
Yes.
He just walks up and he needs to get somewhere, but he knows he won't be allowed, so he just bullshits and lies and gets in.
Although I do like the dynamic, like, with his daughter. Like, there's several scenes, like, where he's clearly flailing, and, like, she saves him.
Oh, like when they went to the impound lot?
Yes.
And then one guy, and he's like, oh, haven't I seen you in something? He's all, I was an extra in, like, Jupiter Ascending. And he's all, oh, Jupiter, I love that movie. And she fucks with him. She's like,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, explain it. What was your favorite part?
Yeah. What was the movie about?
He's all, I liked it when Jupiter ascended.
Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah. They did a good job with that. And then they did another scene later where, like, his daughter actually helped him because he was, like, struggling. Like, they went to this, like, restaurant and they were, he was pretending to be a fire marshal and he was kind of flailing. He was kind of about to lose out on it. And then she came in for the rescue on it instead of screwing him over like she did the other time.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that dynamic. I mean, the center of the film is the dynamic between Axel Foley and his estranged daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And they got fantastic chemistry together in that. Like, it just works. Like, they nailed it.
Yeah. I'd say, like, the one thing I was a little disappointed in with this movie was there wasn't enough Billy. Billy was like, that's Judge Reinhold's character. He's kind of like one of the more fun characters in the Beverly Hills Cops movies. He's just like very kind of, when the first Beverly Hills Cop movie, he was this very like naive guy that was very easily duped by Axel. Like multiple times duped. They just always fell for it. And then he ended up becoming like he was like a very earnest guy that ended up being actually very helpful and ended up having like a penchant for like big weapons and stuff. Like I remember in the second movie, I think he like used like a rocket launcher at one point.
He doesn't have a lot of screen time in the film because like they have him like, get kidnapped early on.
Yeah.
And then like.
That's the kind of conceit that puts Axel into action as he's looking for him.
Yeah, as he's looking for him. And like, so he doesn't show up again until like towards like the last half of the film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When they need to take out Kevin Bacon and his henchman Jacob from Lost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jacob from Lost. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, it was so cool seeing so many of the actors back. Judge Reinhold as Billy, John Astin as Taggart, Paul Reiser. He had like a really small role in like the first, was it the first or second? I don't remember. Beverly Hills Cop movie. I think it was the first one. He had a very small role. I think he had a bigger role in the second one. And then Bronson Pinchot as Surge, one of his classic characters.
One of his classic characters. Yeah, he comes back.
He's so great. He's like, Axel!
Bronson Pinchot is like, he's so great.
He's a treasure.
He should be in more things.
Yeah.
I don't know why he isn't.
Every movie should be the Langoliers TV miniseries.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen The Leftovers?
I have not.
He's not in it, but Cousin Larry from that show is his show, Perfect Strangers. The actor who plays Cousin Larry is in it as himself. And his storyline in The Leftovers, I don't know if you know what The Leftovers is, but it's like about, like there's like a rapture-like event.
Yeah, I know it is because like you've told me about this because it's from,
Damon Lindelof.
Yeah, your favorite guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Bronson Pinchot is in the story, even though the actor is not in the show, because, like, basically the entire cast of Perfect Strangers except Cousin Larry got, like, raptured.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
And it becomes this, like, emotional thing for the actor who plays Cousin Larry. Like, he faked being raptured and stuff because he felt humiliated and like, there's all this stuff that kind of happens, like, in background scenes, and then he actually becomes, like, a legit character, like, later on. It's crazy.
That's
crazy stuff like that. If you like Perfect Strangers, you need to see The Leftovers, man. Just for that reference alone, it's really good. But yeah, back to Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. I'm glad you liked it. Did this make you at all interested in watching the old movies?
Yeah, I'll go back and watch the other ones. Why not? I mean, this was a fun movie.
I enjoyed it. I can't vouch for the third, but I could say the first one's a classic. The second one was done by Tony Scott.
Oh, interesting.
So, crazy in its own right there, that alone, you know?
No, I enjoyed it, like, and it's interesting, like, just being able to watch, like, this movie and enjoy it and not, like, have these expectations attached to it that like you probably did.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I thought like would make this interesting would be like the possibility that we would come to like different conclusions, like just based off our familiarity. Like I watched this, I enjoyed it, and I'm like, oh man, I thought this was really good. What if on the podcast like Tyson comes in and says, oh man, no, they did this wrong, and this is all messed up.
No, they nailed it. They nailed it like thoroughly. Like I said, the only thing that I really miss, besides like I said, Billy being kind of sidelined a bit, and he's like such a fun character.
Which like even like me, like you know, like with no familiarity, even like I agree with you on that. I would have liked to see more Billy in this film.
I really hope they do another one. The way they ended the movie with him like back in the car, that was a callback to like a scene in the first movie that was really popular. When he like secretly hops in the back seat of their car, you know?
Right.
It's a straight callback to a scene from the original movie, and it really makes me hope that they do like another one and they don't wait 30 years because, you know, John Taggart probably, you know, John Astin, who plays John Taggart, probably won't be alive by then if they wait that long. I don't know. I want the whole gang back together. I want to see another movie with all of them. It'd be really fun. I gotta say, what do you think was the standout scene in this movie? I want to see if it's the same one I'm thinking of.
The standout scene in this movie. The helicopter chase.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, you passed.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because like, oh yeah.
They need to escape. They head up to the roof, and Axel's got this plan. They're gonna take this helicopter because he knows that Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character is a helicopter pilot.
He's like heard pilot. This. Yeah.
He gets to the roof, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like, "Oh no!" He's like, "What are you talking about? You can fly!" And he's like,
"Well, they get in there and they take off, right? So they're in the air, and then like Joseph Gordon-Levitt tells them like, you know, like, oh, the reason like he's no longer a pilot is because like he crashed the helicopter."
Yeah,
and I just like love like Axel's like reaction. He's like, "You crashed?
You didn't tell me this before.
You couldn't tell me this before."
He's like, "I didn't know your plan."
yeah, right. Like while they're in the air, and just see like Axel like freak out and everything, and he's struggling to fly this helicopter. He can't at all.
They're doing this very like a low altitude like helicopter chase. It's really funny and weird.
It's really hilarious scene, you know, like and like just this like really creative like action set piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very good. Very, very fun. Man, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like really good in like a buddy cop dynamic.
He is. I mean, Joseph,
he kind of had a little bit of that in Inception.
Yeah.
And we saw that one trailer we talked about. He's got that one movie coming up.
That's funny because like I've been following Joseph Gordon-Levitt's career like since Third Rock from the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
Was on, and he's always been like immensely talented.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's on full display here. At first, like I was worried like they were gonna make him like one of the villains, like he was gonna be like one of the like dirty cops, but like I'm glad they didn't do that.
Mm-hmm. He works better as like this buddy cop for Axel, you know, that really worked, that dynamic.
Yeah, that dynamic worked really well.
Yeah, man. So I'm happy you liked it, and hopefully you can go back and watch some Beverly Hills Cop and get in on that cultural train.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Be timely with it, man. You need to get on with what's hip and happening in modern culture right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to watch that 40-year-old movie. Oh man, absolute classic. Love seeing so many different cool things in there. Luis Guzman's in the movie. That was fun.
Yeah, he has like a small cameo in it, but like it's a memorable cameo.
It's total Guzman.
Oh yeah, because he plays like this gang leader, you know, but like he's like a really flamboyant gang leader.
Yeah. You just watch it and you go, "Oh, that was so Guzman."
Yeah, that's so Guzman. Yeah, exactly.
Man. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I think we can kind of cut it off there. But
yeah, I think we can. Yeah, I think we can cap it there.
Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. It's on Netflix if you want to check it out. It's great, you know. It's a new director. I think he's only really done like some short films and commercials and stuff. He hasn't really done much else.
They nailed it. And I just want to say like so many of like these reboots or like, you know, reimagining, like bringing back these properties for modern, like so many of them like fall apart or collapse under the weight of like trying to pander to nostalgia and never feel like its own entity or feel like it stands on its own. And I think like they really succeeded with this. in a way that a lot of other similar projects tend to fail.
They brought back something that we needed, I think. They brought back this version of Eddie Murphy, which we haven't had in a long time. And it's that confident, kind of bumbling, but also confident and competent at the same time. And that kind of like charisma and charm and just his ability to lie himself into these situations. It's just great. And it's super entertaining to watch him when he's doing that. And we haven't seen that in like a long time. So it's just great to bring back that they were able to successfully bring back that aspect. And that's what's like so important about it. You know, like I think any kind of project that you're going to bring back, there's going to be like a thing that you need to nail, you know? And that was the thing for Beverly Hills Cop, was that you had to nail Axel Foley. He had to be Axel Foley, you know? And they just nailed that. We got that 80s Eddie Murphy back, which, by the way, I mean, he still looks like 80s Eddie Murphy.
He does, yeah. I really like love like the scene where like he's with like Taggart, and he's sitting there like, you know, going like oh, who looks older? We're the same age. We're the same age. Doesn't he look older than me? That's hilarious.
Yeah, I think John Astin was in his 30s when the first movie was made, but he always looked like 20 years older than he actually was.
Right.
Poor guy. This just made me go like, I want more Beverly Hills Cop movies. Give us another trilogy, you know? We got this now. Give us another one and then another one after that. Just keep giving us more Beverly Hills Cop. It's great. We need these kind of just fun movies.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is it for our full spoiler segment and it for our podcast for the night. Next week, we are going to be talking about 2 animated shows. Care to tell us what those are, Will?
X-Men 97 and Batman Cape Crusader. Also, again, nostalgia throwbacks and sequels to
we recently figured out that
shows.
those came out in the same year.
Yeah, oh yeah, they did.
We were talking about it, and I was sure like I thought X-Men 97 came like a few years into Batman and the animated series run, and we looked it up, and no, they came out the same year.
Yeah, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, and it's really cool because it's like they're both like very highly regarded, like the original shows, I should point out. And we're talking about X-Men and Batman the animated series. We're both highly, highly regarded animated shows, one representing DC, one representing Marvel. And now we've brought them back, but in kind of different ways. We have X-Men 97 is like a direct continuation.
It's a direct continuation of what was going on when the X-Men series originally ended. Cape Crusader is not a continuation of Batman the animated series. This is more like of an Elseworlds reimagining of it. So like it's Batman, but like everything's different, or like a lot of elements are completely different.
Yeah, but it's Bruce Timm is involved with it again.
The other guy, Paul Dini, is not involved.
No, but Bruce Timm is, and it's got that same kind of aesthetic, that same like 1940s/50s, like retro kind of aesthetic to it, you know, that was such a huge part of the charm of the animated series. It's like, that's back again. Yeah, it's interesting, and they go in some interesting places with it, and that's going to be a big part of our discussion next week, is the fact that these are like the spiritual continuations, you know, or direct continuations of these shows that came out in the same year. And then now X-Men 97, I think, came out last year and into this year, I think.
Yes.
And then Cape Crusader just came out just like recently. But yeah, it's just crazy. They come out like these continuations, these successors come out like
almost at the same time. Like when the original shows came out at the same time. It's crazy. You know, and that's coincidence. I mean.
Yeah. Well, funny. When these both got announced, they had already both been in production for a while.
Right.
You know, these are like animations. They take a while to do. So it's like, yeah, it is a coincidence.
They weren't like responses to each other, you know, it's like,
Yeah. But it's like interesting, like we said, because there's 2 different approaches. So we're going to be able to get into that next week when we talk about like who did it better, or, you know, if that even matters, because we just got more great stuff.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But that's going to be next week's podcast. So stay tuned for that. Until then, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. Will is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our website, thetotalscreen.com. If you go to our website and open up a container story for any of our podcast episodes, scroll down to the bottom paragraph. You'll find all of the relevant links to our social accounts, our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed for the podcast. You can also subscribe to this podcast through your favorite podcast client of choice, like Apple Podcasts or Pocket Cast, and the entire backlog of our podcast, as well as a bunch of additional content from our years and years of doing TV coverage and such. It's all available on our YouTube channel. links in the container stories for the podcast episodes on our website, thetotalscreen.com. So check that out as well. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.